What's going on, guys? This is Sam from Dodgers Debrief, and in this podcast, we're going to be breaking down the Dodgers' performance in their first two series. And spoiler alert, most of it was very, very good. Let's get into it. So the Dodgers started off their season in Coors Field, which is not something you usually want to do, especially when you've got some new pitchers on the team and trying to get all the pitchers synced up and the offense synced up because of the weird altitude. But they played really well, aside from opening day where they played, a little bit sloppy. Kershaw wasn't fantastic. They still almost came back and won, and I was really impressed with a lot of what I saw, especially from guys like Gavin Lux, Zach McKinstry, and some of the pitching after Kershaw, including Corey Knebel. Jimmy Nelson was okay, and Scott Alexander was really good in that game, so that's good. Those guys are off to solid starts, especially Alexander. Nelson's been struggling a little bit, but he's still striking out guys, so I think a lot of it is just kind of adjusting, getting back into the season, and I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to be a huge asset, and might even, should be getting a lot of late season bullpen arms. So there's not a whole lot to really take away from the games in Colorado. Dodgers aren't hitting for a lot of power at the moment, or at least weren't in Colorado. Had a few wacky home run plays and things like that. Bellinger passed Turner on the bases because Turner thought the ball was caught. Whatever. Opening day, season is new kind of thing. Kind of get back into the swing of things. Trevor Bauer was fantastic in his Dodgers debut. He took a no-hitter into the seventh inning, and then he got hit around a little in the seventh, but he'd been a little tired out by running on the bases. What was it? He'd been running on the bases in the previous inning, I think, and he was reaching, first start of the season, he's reaching kind of where his pitch count would be kind of ending, and his pitches aren't breaking as much as they should because he's in Colorado. So give him a break a little bit on what happened in the seventh there. Give him 4 runs and 2 homers, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. Really, really fantastic stuff, and he performed quite well. And I think he's been a really, his second start, which we'll talk about in a little bit, in Oakland was phenomenal as well, and he's really been more than I expected to start the season. I've been really, really impressed with what Bauer's been able to do for us. So the Dodgers win on Saturday was probably the most exciting, with Buehler pitching really well. He didn't strike out as many guys as you would usually like to see, but that's because their fastball doesn't spin as much in Colorado, and that's a pitch he relies on for a lot of his strikeouts. So that's understandable that there was a little bit less swing and miss there. Trinan wasn't great, but again, Coors Field, we'll talk about Trinan a little bit more in a little bit. He blew the lead, and then Victor Gonzalez wasn't great also. His command has been not quite what it was back last year and at the beginning of spring training. So he's a little bit out of sync right now, but again, he's a guy that I trust completely, and I think is one of the best relievers on the team. So getting him right is important. And then Kenley Jansen was fantastic in this game. We will talk about him more later. But Jansen in this game in Colorado was phenomenal. He came in for a 5-out save. First time he's done that in a really long time. Kind of got through it. He walked a guy in one point, but he didn't let it bother him. He just kind of got through it. His pitches looked really good. His velocity was good. He looked like good Kenley Jansen. Spring training Kenley Jansen. 16-17 Kenley Jansen. He was really fantastic. So that was a great win all around. That was probably my favorite. It's been my favorite so far. Was a lot of fun. Next game in Colorado was actually, a lot of these games have been a lot of fun. Urias was phenomenal with the best start of his career, going 7 innings for the first time, which was awesome. He only gave up 3 hits and gave up technically an earned run because he gave up a leadoff single in the 8th before leaving, and it scored, but, not really his fault there. 6 strikeouts, which is good. You want to see a little bit more of strikeout stuff from Urias, but his changeup was fantastic. His changeup was a pitch that was among the 10 worst, I think, or 10 least valuable pitches in baseball last season, and he generated a lot of swing and misses on it and got most of his strikeouts on it, which was really cool to see. And if he develops that changeup, watch out. He's already, as a fastball slurve guy, phenomenal. So I think if he can get that changeup really working effectively, he can pitch at an ace level, and I think we're going to see that from him this season. I'm really excited by what I saw in the first start, and what I think we're going to see. So moving on to the Dodgers' next stop in Oakland, they did well against the A's, who have been off to a terrible start. They got their first win in that third game against the Dodgers, which we'll talk about in a second. But in the Dodgers' first game against them, Dustin May dominated. He got, I think, 16 swing and misses, by far the most of his career, and tied his career high for 8 strikeouts, got into the 6th inning. It was his first ever, actually, of scoreless start that wasn't him as an opener. So that's pretty cool. Another career kind of highlight for a young guy on the team. He only gave up 2 hits, walked 2, but that was in, I believe, the first and second inning. He really, really locked in. The stuff was disgusting. He didn't really have his curveball working at all, which makes this kind of more impressive. His cutter was really, really, ridiculous. It looked almost like a slider at certain points. It was going 95 miles per hour. So that was phenomenal. David Price also pitched in this game. Wasn't great. I'm a little concerned about him. He hasn't been pitching well, but again, we don't need him to right now. We just need to ease him back into things. And if he can't get it going, he won't be on the postseason roster. Things will be okay. I think. I still believe he's got a lot left and will be good for us this season. But he hasn't pitched super well so far, so that's something to monitor in that sense. But he's going about 2 or 3 innings. He's gone 2 innings each outing. So I guess that's the plan for him out of the bullpen. Is he's the 2-inning lefty in a game that's not super close. Scott Alexander also pitched really well in this game, so that's something to also keep an eye on. The Dodgers obviously believe a lot in Alexander. He's made the roster over guys like Santana and maybe some other people who might have been, perform better on the field. So that's definitely noteworthy. They believe in him, and he's gotten off to a strong start to the season. Although he did last year as well, and kind of regressed a little bit as it went on. Though if we move on to the Dodgers' second game versus the Athletics, where Clayton Kershaw pitched, and things were not looking great at the beginning of this game. In the first inning, he struck out 3, but he also gave up 2 pretty well hit doubles. Kind of like, all right, is his velocity down and stuff like that. But then he really, really locked it in. I mean, he looked like 2020 World Series winning Clayton Kershaw, and not the Clayton Kershaw we saw in spring training and on opening day. He was phenomenal. He generated 21 swing and misses, I believe, which is, I want to say, the most, I think, since sometime in September of 2017. Something like that. So, yeah, really, really impressive stuff from him. His slider was dirty. Just guys could not hit it, couldn't stay on it, anything like that at all. He was really, really impressive. Just looked like Clayton Kershaw, which was really nice to see after not seeing Clayton Kershaw really in a few months, really. So it was really, really awesome to see. He got his first win of the season, which doesn't matter, really, but is nice to see. He struck out 8. He didn't walk anybody. He gave up an earned run, 4 hits, 7 innings. It's phenomenal. Blake Trinan came in after him, was awesome. He walked a guy, but it was on 3 really horrendous pitches. Sorry, not horrendous pitches. Great pitches, horrendous calls from the umpire. He struck out 2. His stuff was just moving all over the place. He looked really, really nasty, better than he looked last year. So that's really good to see. He's definitely a guy that's going to be getting a lot of close games and maybe closing out some games, a situation we will talk about in a second. Kenley Jansen pitched in this game. He did not pitch well. He walked a guy, but he got good results. He wasn't hit particularly hard, and he closed it out, did fine. And then the Dodgers, in their final game, they dropped their second game of the season. In that third game against the Athletics, they got walked off after Jansen blew a 1-run save in the 9th inning and looked. I didn't actually watch this game. I was doing other things, but he looked apparently terrible. Walked 2, strikeouts none. He only gave up a hit, but if his command is not there, it's bad. And if his velocity is not there, it's bad, which it hadn't been in the past 2 outings. You guys know me. I love, love, love Kenley Jansen. No one works harder. No one's a better teammate. But this has me more concerned about Jansen than I was even 3 or 4 days ago. This is concerning. I think we'll see sometimes. This happened a little bit at the end of last year where his mechanics will get messed up, and that'll affect both his command and velocity. And I'm hoping that's the issue, and they can fix this in 1 or 2 bullpen sessions and get him back into games, and he'll look like he did on Saturday against the Rockies and how he did in spring training, where he was dominant. But this is definitely much more of something to keep an eye on in my opinion, than it was before. So definitely keeping an eye on Jansen, as he's been a little bit pretty shaky to start the season. But I still have confidence that he will be our closer, and will get 30 plus saves as the closer. I have confidence that his mechanics are working, and I'm going to choose to look at the larger sample size of spring training as opposed to his last 2 kind of poor outings, I guess. We've quickly recapped the games. There's a few small kind of narratives, I guess, to start the season that we should look at. I think first and foremost, Zach McKinstry has been awesome for this team. He's just hitting the ball all over the place. He has cool kind of inside the park first home run. He hit out, but was kind of caught and brought back. Really cool stuff to see him get super excited about. That was really, really exciting. I like him a lot. I think he's a better hitter than Kike Hernandez, but a worse fielder. And I will take that trade probably with Chris Taylor and how good a fielding team it is otherwise. So McKinstry's got me really excited. I think he's going to get a lot more playing time with Chris Taylor kind of temporarily sidelined. We don't know if Taylor's going to be on the injured list, but he got hit kind of almost in the funny bone area with a pitch in Oakland. So that's something to monitor. I don't think they've said he's going on the injured list, but he might get a little bit less playing time for a few days just to kind of get himself back in there and let his arm recover. So that means more time for McKinstry, which is fine with me because as good a hitter as Taylor is, McKinstry is basically matching him production-wise. So that's awesome. I'm really excited to see. I don't know how our system just keeps pumping out these guys who are just phenomenal. Just seems to come out of nowhere. So that's great. McKinstry's been great. Similarly, Lux has been very good to start the season. I wish he would hit the ball in the air a little more. Credit to Kazuna on Twitter, who always is complaining about how Lux hits the ball on the ground. But, Lux has been really good to start the season, carrying over from spring training. He just looks so much more comfortable than he did last year and even in 2019. Like, he looks as though he belongs. He's having fun. He's playing great defense. I think he's been maybe the most valuable defensive player in baseball for the season, at least for an infielder. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure of that. I thought I heard that somewhere. But he's been really, really good. He's making some great plays for that. And kind of similar standout performances. Seager's been awesome. He kind of went into, he was like an 0 for 10 at one point, and then he got 2 hits in the last game against Oakland. So he's back, I guess. He was smashing the ball in Colorado. Justin Turner is hitting the ball very hard and a lot. Betts is hitting the ball very hard and a lot. Got 1 home run apiece and are hitting well over 300. They've been great. Muncy's been fantastic, much more like 2018, 2019 Muncy than 2020 Muncy. Obviously, his finger's not broken, and he can use video, and he's kind of, had a regular spring training and things like that. He's been fantastic. Rios hit a home run. That's been good. Beatty kind of has been struggling. I think his time is on the Major League team is dwindling, and I like Beatty. He's great in 2019, very, very clutch. Had a few big home runs. I think he's not, I was excited by a lot of what I saw from him early on in spring training, but he hasn't taken impressive at bats even when he's making outs this season. So I think probably he's the first roster spot to go for somebody like a DJ Peters. But I guess we'll see about that when it happens. Kind of in a similar, not really a similar direction, actually, whatever. Cody Bellinger, I thought got off to a pretty good start this season in Colorado. I thought he was hitting the ball pretty well. He hit the home run that wasn't. He hit a ball over the fence, didn't get credit. He's been hitting some doubles, looking pretty comfortable at the plate. He's obviously, I think he's been striking out a lot. I think he's still getting his timing right because he started spring training about 2 weeks late due to his shoulder surgery. But he's fully healthy, majorly fully healthy. He got cleated on when he was trying to run out a ground ball to first base. So I think they've said, I believe that he might be going on the injured list, but it's not a serious ailment at all. I believe he even said getting ice put on where he was cleated hurt more than getting cleated itself. Kind of a classic Bellinger quote there. But I think that that's not a major problem to look out for. It might just be more playing time for McKinstry and Pollock, which is fine right now. So that's Bellinger might go on the IL for probably the minimum of 10 days only, just to kind of heal and rest in that sense, and might get some more off days. But that shouldn't be a problem. I'm not worried about him at all. He's great. And speaking of off days, Roberts has been resting a lot of the guys, and I've seen a lot of people kind of complaining about this online. I think that's kind of a little bit ridiculous because they're going from playing 60 games to 162 games. That's an extra 102 baseball games. And that already, usually when you're used to playing that many, puts a physical grind on you and you take a lot of off days. And not to mention, what that will do after playing only 60 games. And I think, I just think it's important to keep things in perspective and realize that off days are going to keep guys healthier to play the games that matter. These games, they matter, but they don't really matter. The Dodgers, if they win, today or tomorrow or whatever, it doesn't really matter. What matters is, are guys healthy? Are they playing well in general? Stuff like that. So I think it's important to keep things like that in perspective. So kind of the last thing I want to talk about, and what's a little bit of a shorter episode, is Trevor Bauer had some baseballs confiscated, I guess, in the first inning of his start against Oakland. And, worst case scenario here, I think they catch him using a foreign substance. He's suspended for a few weeks. He comes back, pitches great down the stretch. The Dodgers, win the division. He pitches in the postseason. We win the World Series. He's great. But I think he might miss a start or two because of this, but I think I'm not really worried about him being good because he's cheating. I think probably he was using a foreign substance and probably he's going to get busted for it, and it's just going to be what it's going to be. But even after he had those baseballs confiscated, his stuff started to look better and better throughout his start when he wasn't using it because they had taken away the funky quote-unquote suspicious baseballs, whatever that means. So I think I'm not really worried about his performance on the field, but I do think it's possible he misses a few starts as part of a suspension. And I support what baseball is doing, trying to get foreign substance out of the game, but I don't think they can target just Trevor Bauer. I think it's it's not at all a problem localized to him. I know an article came out a few months ago about guys like Garrett Cole and Max Scherzer being big. It was focused on Cole just being a big foreign substance guy. I don't know what UCLA is doing to those pitchers, but just a lot of the kind of premier guys, Verlander as well, throughout the game, using foreign substances kind of casually. And MLB, in my opinion, can't just suspend Bauer and make a big deal out of it. They have to also go after guys like Cole and maybe even Scherzer if he used it in the past. For that, like it's not acceptable in my opinion to just go after Bauer and say, "Oh, he's the guy using foreign substances. We got him." No, you have to make this is a league-wide problem. Every pitcher is not doing this. Clayton Kershaw is not doing this, but like over 50% of pitchers, I'm sure, are doing this. I saw a video today on Twitter. I'm sorry, I don't have the credit of John Means on the Orioles. Very obviously, like tapping his glove to get some sticky stuff. Like this is a widespread thing, and no one's being like careful about it. This should not be a hard problem for baseball to solve, and I just hope they don't make Trevor Bauer their scapegoat, and then and then kind of pretend the problem's been solved. Although he can take the heat for this. If they do find he was using a foreign substance, I'm not going to feel particularly bad for him. He can take the heat, but it would be unfair for it to kind of just be him getting punished for something the league has been doing for forever. So sorry for this being a little bit of a shorter episode this week. I've got a lot going on. I haven't been able to watch as many of the games, so a little bit less detailed kind of stuff. But I really appreciate y'all listening, and I'm going to try to get an episode out on Sunday. I'm trying to kind of do this after every series, but other things are going on, so I think I can guarantee an episode once a week. But I'm going to try to get this out every series. But I really appreciate you guys listening. Please, like, share, rate, review wherever you are listening. If you want to read my blog, which is going to be more kind of detailed or in-depth player breakdowns or season-wide trends, that's www.dodgersdebrief.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm pretty active on there during games, at Sam_Shearer99, and all of that is linked in the description. See you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening.